Isabella. I'm a senior magnet student here at Chapin. Welcome to my TED Talk. Well, I call it a CHED Talk now because it's a Chapin TED Talk. There's a poster right there. Just to be original. So I'll say this again, but being a senior in the magnet program, you can choose to take project-based research, where you research a problem, come up with a solution, have something that acts on the solution. So I could have chose something maybe like an advertisement on satellite awareness and just attached it to the back of my paper. Or maybe even done a documentary if I was feeling spicy. But instead, I decided that I wanted to make a talk, do it on a stage, in front of an audience, without any notes or PowerPoint to look back on satellite awareness, and try not to bore you to death. So I was good with this challenge, I was ready for it until last weekend when I decided to practice for the first time with my mom, and I completely freaked out, blanked out, started crying. It was really bad. But don't worry, I'm okay now. I'm good and I'm ready and I'm excited to talk to you guys today. So this talk is on satellite awareness, and I know that might seem boring, but I promise that you'll leave here with more information and more ideas to maybe spark change in yourself and how you see the world. And I've included a bunch of authentic and original art to go with my presentation, so there's that to look forward to as well. So let me get started by first asking a question. Who here has ever stopped, even if it was just for a second, to think about our satellites? And I know the answer is probably like, of course, we have never stopped to think about our satellites. Thank you very much. Even me, being the space geek that I am, the safety of our satellites has never even crossed my mind. But don't feel bad about it, it's understandable. It's hard to think about satellites when they live in a world we can't see up in space. So let's start thinking. Who has a cell phone, uses the internet or GPS such as iPhone Maps or Google Maps? Do you watch TV or check the weather? Have you ever gone over a bridge, had a bowl of cereal, or ever just checked up on North Korea to see if they're building anything fishy? Well, believe it or not, whether it was directly or indirectly, satellite technology has made these things possible, easy to access, and reliable for our daily disposal. So with all these abilities, you would assume that satellites are these complex engineered, state-of-the-art technologies, products of human discovery, which is not wrong, but it's not entirely true. Because satellites are just computers, like your phone or laptop, made to complete a function. They're computers that can be hacked or attacked, which make them liabilities. Liabilities, we have over 2,000 of in orbit, and liabilities that come with costly and lethal consequences we are unprepared for. There are situations that can affect our satellites that we need to be aware of. So to explain my first situation, I'm going to ask if you can imagine that you are an astronaut for NASA. My question would be, why did NASA choose you to be an astronaut and not me? But that's besides the point. So, it's your first time in space, and you're assigned to a mission on the International Space Station. So, you're out there and you decide to go on your spacewalk, because why not? That's awesome. When suddenly, you get a call from Houston saying that there's a problem. It turns out, China has launched an ASAT weapon, destroying one of its satellites. That's their destroyed satellite. So what does this mean for you? Well, first off, an ASAT weapon is an anti-satellite weapon. It's a weapon made to destroy satellites. It's pretty self-explanatory, hence the word anti-satellite weapon. So China has just launched an ASAT weapon, destroying one of their satellites. This satellite now explodes into thousands of debris of sizes ranging from as big as a bus or as small as a tortilla chip. Since space is a vacuum, these pieces are traveling at super high speeds, like speeds 30 times the speed of sound speeds, destroying everything in their path, everything in your path. There's now a bunch of what I call satellite guts orbiting Earth, destroying other space stations, shuttles, satellites, creating even more destruction. So it's like a dangerous domino effect of just destroyed things. And they're making their way towards you. If these satellite guts punctured a hole in your suit, then you would die. If they destroyed a communication satellite you used to contact mission control, you would now be flying blind and alone in space, and you would also probably die, unless you're Sandra Bullock from Gravity, of course. There's now a bunch of satellites that's orbiting and destroying everything, and there's nothing we can do to save you, so you're just really dead. And this is a space junk situation that can affect our satellites that come with these consequences that we are unaware of. Although my story is hypothetical, the threat of ASAT weapons is real, and it could make this a possibility. ASAT weapons started developing in 1957 when the first satellite was launched by the Soviet Union's Sputnik. Of course, this freaked out the Americans. We decided to build weapons to destroy it, and ever since then, we've been building weapons, ASAT weapons. As early as 2007, that's when China actually did become the third nation to demonstrate their ASAT weapons capability. They developed an ASAT weapon, destroyed a satellite into space, just like the situation that killed you a minute ago. So countries being able to build these ASAT weapons can potentially create a space-based arm race, much like the Cold War, except with ASAT weapons instead of nukes and in space. So a space war situation that can affect our satellites with consequences we are unprepared for. But satellites don't have to be attacked physically to create a problem for themselves either. Many satellites are old, outdated, or too expensive to take down, so we just leave them up. These satellites we leave up add to the space junk problem, but I'll get back to that later. Other satellites are at risk of being hacked. These, as simple as faking an IP address and having the right motive, someone could gain satellite access. This is a serious issue because if a satellite is disrupted, life-saving communication and information abilities can be withheld by the people on Earth that need it most. This is a big problem because other countries and terrorists are able to control our satellites. So in the event of a conflict or a war here on Earth or in space, the enemy would have dangerous advantage over having our means of communication and information. But satellites also have a threat that don't even come from humans, and it's the sun. Coronal mass ejections are emitted every day from the sun. They're called CMEs. Basically, it's just a wave of dangerous particles, and if Earth is in the path of those particles, then all the electrical systems are damaged on Earth, especially the electrical systems that we have in orbit outside the protection of our atmosphere, aka our satellites. CMEs can create chaos if Earth is in their path, just damaging all these electrical systems that we rely on. And so this situation is a sun situation for our satellites that we are also unaware of. So to recap, ASAT weapons destroy satellites. A space-based war can destroy even more. Satellite terrorists could hack satellites and control them, which is also dangerous. And the sun in all this isn't our friend, emitting its CMEs everywhere. All of these dead, disrupted, hacked, attacked satellites add to the space junk problem, which in turn destroys even more satellites. So satellites just aren't the safest right now. Although there hasn't been a major attack yet to warrant our attention, the threat is probable and it's growing. Donald Trump literally just said, like 2 weeks ago, that space is going to be the new war-fighting domain, which motivates countries to start looking at space as the new battlefield. This is the battlefield that our satellites live in, the satellites that we rely on. The FCC just granted Elon Musk permission to launch 12,000 more satellites into orbit. Mind you, we only have 2,000 as of right now, about 2,000. And although I'm not criticizing Elon Musk, I mean, he has good intentions. He wants to create global satellite internet that you can access everywhere. Elon Musk, please hire me to give me an internship for SpaceX. And for those of you that don't know, this is not Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. This is Elon Musk's face on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Just posted it on Twitter. It's pretty great. Anyways, with 12,000 more satellites comes just that much responsibility to keep them and awareness for us to keep them safe so we can avoid the situations that come with them. So my last topic is about the Kessler syndrome. The Kessler syndrome is a theory proposed by NASA astrophysicist Donald J. Kessler. And basically, well, it's more of a cautionary tale than it is a theory. And it basically just warns us what might happen if there's too many satellites, too much spacecraft, too much space junk in orbit. So to keep it short and simple, If a satellite is destroyed by like any of the situations that I've mentioned, it creates more pieces and they collide with even more satellites, creating even more destruction. More destroyed satellites mean more pieces, which mean more damage to other satellites until Earth eventually just looks really dirty. So this is a problem because the satellites we need most would be broken or get broken. The orbital plane in which these satellites were would now be useless, and it could damage anything else we send into space and potentially even stop us from sending anything into space at all. It's super hard to clean up this mess once it's started. It's actually nearly impossible. Just to put it into perspective, it's like you trying to catch a falling piece of junk, broken satellite. You think you got it, that's you. You think you got it, you're about to catch it until you realize there's no ground either, and you're also falling with the falling piece of debris that you need to catch. In addition, you're in a spacesuit that has low oxygen, and instead of one piece of debris, you need to catch a billion more that are surrounding the Earth and that are continuously multiplying every second, every time they collide with one another. This is the Kessler syndrome situation that is very likely and that can destroy our satellites and the credibility of everything that we worked for in space. So ultimately, destroyed, attacked, hacked, disrupted, and dead satellites create consequences that can influence the success of the American space program and all space programs for that matter. It could also affect the advancement of mankind into space. So we need to recognize that satellites aren't these perfect, ultra-modern technologies with only positive impacts and no mistakes. But don't get me wrong, I'm an advocate for spacecraft technologies and building satellites. Elon Musk, please hire me to build your spaceships. I'm an advocate for human exploration, for human discovery. I'm an advocate for innovation and growth, which satellites have all helped. But I'm also an advocate for precaution, which is a vital tool we need in order for us to accomplish our goals safely and effectively. Reliance on our satellites is our strength, but also our greatest weakness. We need to be well aware, well informed, and well prepared of any situation that may affect our satellites. In the likely event of a future attack, we don't want to be left with the questions of regret, like how could have this been prevented? Why were we not better informed? Why were we not prepared? At what cost were the consequences? We need to start thinking about our satellites, even if it's just for a second, so we can change the outcome of these situations. So that if NASA does choose you to be an astronaut, you can complete your mission. And so humanity can complete its mission of innovation, discovery, and peaceful growth. Thank you for your attention. I hope this has expanded your horizons and how you think, maybe even sparked change in yourself and how you see the world. And thank you for coming to my CHED talk. One last thing, this is a survey, it's only 3 questions. I promise it only takes 5 minutes. You can take a picture of the QR code, or if you don't have a QR code reader, which you probably do, there's the link, and then you could take it if you get back to class or something. It'll only take 5 seconds, but thank you.